Some of you are on courses where you've met me before, but for those who don't, a bit about me. I've been in the industry over 20 years, mostly in locations. Location manager, it's my IMDb. Worked on loads and loads of stuff over the years. Started back in 1998 where am I? Somewhere down here. Working on loads of different projects as a runner, and then through to locations. Because I got quite a lot of location knowledge around Yorkshire and done a lot of work around here, when the job came up at Screen Yorkshire about 8 years ago, I applied for it, and it was like supporting filmmaking in the Yorkshire region. So I started my interview and just said, I'm doing it already. So I got the job. So a bit about Screen Yorkshire then. We were formed in 2002, 20 years old. We've got a party coming up. Going to get an invite, hopefully. And so, yeah, formed in 2002. We were formerly a big screen agency with quite a big team before I started. And then we did loads of different things. There was money all over the place at that time. Did lots of like little bits of grant and free money for short film development and all that kind of thing. That all in 2010 kind of disappeared. New government came in and decided to centralise all of the support and the regional screen agencies into one organisation called Creative England. All of the regionals, well, pretty much all of the regionals at that time disappeared. Apart from Screen Yorkshire, we're a bit of an anomaly because around about 2011, we got hold of £7.5 million worth of European funding. And to create basically what we call the Yorkshire Content Fund. And the Yorkshire Content Fund is an investment fund, and how it works is that we get people who come to us looking for investment in their project, mostly features and television drama, although we have invested in at least one game, one animation, quite a few documentaries now as well. And the idea is that if you get an investment from Screen Yorkshire, you have to bring your project to Yorkshire or be based in Yorkshire, so money comes into Yorkshire. We don't fully fund anything. Sometimes get applications from people saying that they want, their budget for their short that they want us to fund is £10,000 and they want us to do all 10,000. We don't really do shorts anyway, but we couldn't do that. We won't 100% fund anything. We typically only fund about 10 to 15% maximum of the total budget of the project. So you might have a film that's got a little low budget sort of British film, and they might be like, say, 2 million budget. They've got sort of maybe 1.8 million from other sources, but they need an extra 200,000 to get over the line, another 10%. And so Screen Yorkshire might go, yeah, we'll invest in that. That looks good. We are only interested in the sales figures on that because we want to get our money back. And so when we invest in it, the condition is then that you move the whole thing to Yorkshire. And the idea is that if we put in 200 grand of the 2 million budget of the film, they spend our 200 grand in Yorkshire plus a load of the other money that they've brought in. So the very definition of levelling up, basically. So for every pound we put in to anything, we ideally looking for about £4 spent locally in Yorkshire. So we have what we call a gross value added of about ideally 4 to 1. I think we've been about 3 to 1 for a while, but some projects spend more here, some less. So that's the idea, it's to drive production. What the effect of that, you sometimes see in the news. So this was a film from a few years ago called The Duke. So it was out earlier this year. Did anyone see The Duke? Jim Broadbent, Helen Mirren. The Duke's based on a true story about a guy called Kempton Bunton who lived in Newcastle in the northeast. And he steals a Goya painting from the National Gallery and holds it to ransom, trying to get the government to provide free TV licenses for OAPs. And that's what the story's about. So it's a Newcastle story. So Newcastle is sitting up there when that comes out, news of this film. They're thinking, well, let's wait for the phone call by the filmmakers who want to shoot it in our area. Nope. Screen Yorkshire got in on it. We invested in it. So Newcastle was made out of a combination of streets in Leeds and Bradford. And so Newcastle, if anyone knows Newcastle, it's got the famous Tyne Bridge. So in certain shots in that film, you're looking down a street in Bradford, and CGI in the background, Timebridge. So why is it here? Because we invested in it, so we get it to come here. It can really kick off from time to time. So this was Dad's Army, the film. You might have seen it in the trailer. Dad's Army film. Row breaks out between towns. Why? Original series of Dad's Army was shot in Thetford in Norfolk. So again, when the film is announced, starring quite a lot of our kind of most famous actors, they're expecting it to go to Thetford, where the original series went. But no, Screen Yorkshire invest. So Bridlington became the location of Wilmington-on-Sea for Dad's Army. And then the last one, this also went, this is Cumbria, Jamaica Inn. Does anyone know this story, Jamaica Inn, based on a Daphne du Maurier book? Jamaica Inn itself is, the whole book and that Jamaica Inn itself is on Bodmin Moor in Cornwall. But again, we invested in it, so at the time it was also kicking off. They came to Yorkshire, they did just film, this article is about Kirby Lonsdale, which was just over the border in Cumbria, but the reason they were up north at all is because of our investment that got it to film up here instead of down in its natural home of Cornwall. So that's the sort of thing we do. Every single one of these projects that comes in is an opportunity for local crew to work on it. That's what we're massively big on, is employment and the expenditure that these projects bring with them. So we're quite good at it. You get things like this in the Yorkshire Post. Look, Yorkshire welcomes dramatic increase in film and TV productions. So that was from last year. Still from Gentleman Jack. Get a quote from our chief executive in these kind of articles. We love this sort of thing getting into the Yorkshire Post. The reason being is all across Yorkshire there's people kind of high up in organisations like councils and the local enterprise partnerships, things like that. And they're in charge of where money and investment might go. It might go into infrastructure, help support studio builds, or all sorts of different things. So when they're sitting at home reading their newspaper and they see this, it makes them go, oh, film, that could be somewhere to go, you know, because we're having increase and growth. And so we're constantly championing at Channel 4, we're constantly championing the region and trying to get support from other industry partners around the area and getting buy-in to help drive things even more. That's where we kind of are measured on how much filming we bring in. Okay. This is an article from only a couple of months ago as well. This is a huge thing. This is partly due to our work. Nations and regions accounted for the majority of TV production spend for the very first time. So London, South East, although it's still fairly small compared to the rest of the UK, still has a massive amount of filming, but now it's gone below 50% for the first time. So the regions are accounting for more. So what's driving that is certain government policies making organisations move out, which was what happened with Channel 4, and various other commitments to the regions, but a lot of it's down to our fund as well, and making the nations more viable. So we are on a big rising bubble at the moment of production happening. When I was first delivering these talks about 6-7 years ago, London's share of production was around about 75%. So the fact that it's gone down below 50% basically means for you guys, if you want to work in this biz but you don't want to go to London, the chances of you getting a career up here are better than they've ever been. So yeah, we manage the content fund. We also run the Yorkshire Film Office. So when projects come in, some of them are interested in getting investment from Screen Yorkshire. Others are coming to Yorkshire anyway. So The Witcher Series 3 that's in our trailer, they were coming anyway. They don't need our money. It's Netflix. They've got shitloads of money. They've got all the money. But they still engage with us at the Yorkshire Film Office because we have got all of the council contacts. We've got a database of 1,500 locations. We've got the crew database. We know where all the good hotels are, where you can hire kit, all of that kind of stuff. So we run the Yorkshire Film Office. That's what we do, first port of call. So some we invest in, some we don't, but we still help. Sort of things we've been helping over the last few years. Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, was here last year. So we got some students on that. A few weeks later, Harrison Ford was here doing Indiana Jones 5, also in North Yorkshire. They used a lot of the same crew as Mission Impossible. Anyone who's into factual stuff, we will also support, usually to a lesser extent, because there's generally smaller crews and they're kind of not quite so needy, the documentaries and factuals, but you might have noticed that Yorkshire is just massively home to these kind of documentaries and factuals. Last year on TV, there were 13 shows with the word Yorkshire in the title. Amazing. Most of them are on Channel 5. This is all big as well. This is all the sort of stuff that we're supporting as well. And so all of these projects coming in are providing opportunities again for graduates. Then we'll see this one, Samuel L. Jackson. That was Secret Invasion last year. Again, they're getting in touch with us, looking for local crew, looking for contacts around Halifax. We're the first port of call. We're doing the intros between the crew and the locals, the councils, and all that kind of thing. So that's the sort of space we sit in. Why do we exist? Because otherwise, if location scouts, location managers, producers turn up, one is they might not really realise what Yorkshire has got to offer. I think in London, if I go into London, into Soho, and talk to producers down there and say Yorkshire, there's a bit of a misconception. What's conception of Yorkshire is like stone walls and sheep. You know, is that all you can do? No, we can do loads more. A third of our county is pancake flat. It's like the American Midwest out around Goole. It's like incredible. It's underused, if you ask me, as a location scout. But if we didn't exist, they might not know what we've got to offer. They might not do the research. And also, if they do come here, then they're kind of flying blind. You know, you want to go to Halifax. Who do you speak to? You go, you know, you council contacts and things like that. You start from scratch. You're just ringing the main council switchboard. You don't really know where to go, and that can take time and effort. And maybe in the morning, you're doing a scene in Halifax, which is Calderdale, but you move in the afternoon to Bradford, and so then you've got a whole other council you've got to deal with. So we provide the overview and the contacts, and also we can help get the councils on board with what's happening. You know, because every project that comes like this is worth millions to Yorkshire. So we want to try to get whoever's in charge of the location to say yes to it, because it's not just the location fee that's on the line for them. It's like for us, it's like the whole big, massive spend that's also coming up. And this was the big one of this year. We've got the new Versa Leeds studios in Leeds, and a few years ago we were getting shows of this scale and we were having to send them away. They were looking for big studio space, which we didn't have, and we were having to send them elsewhere, sending them over to Manchester to Space Studios. Manchester Council invested over 30 million in that place, whereas you know, sometimes this side of the Pennines just struggle to get a cup of tea out of them, you know. But we managed to help get this Versa Studios off the ground. It's got 4 huge studio spaces. I'm going to try and take some of you students on a tour of it at some point. Now they're getting a bit more established. So Bodies, this new big thriller, it's going to be one of Netflix's biggest shows of next year. Was shot all over Yorkshire all this summer. It's only just finished filming last month. Again, we got some students on it over the summer in Hull. So yeah, it's big. The Crown's just been here recently as well, so they've been around Yorkshire. Obviously The Witcher, we had Bridgerton, which before Squid Game was Netflix's biggest global hit. It was filmed at Castle Howard. So we're pulling in the big lot, yeah? So we're competing on the global stage for all of these as well. So we are the kind of filmmaking shop front for Yorkshire, is Screen Yorkshire, basically. So we don't always get them. Sometimes we get projects that are interested, but we haven't got what they need. It could be we haven't got the right locations, could be other things, you know. Other places have got soft money, what they call soft money. So the Welsh government, we lost some projects to, because you come to Screen Yorkshire, what do you want? £500,000. Right, okay, we'll invest it, but it's an investment. So when your film sells, we want at least £500,000 back to reinvest. Whereas the Welsh government go, here's a free £500,000, so long as you spend £5 million in Wales. You don't have to pay it back, just do that, and then they're driving employment and projects to go to Wales. Wales is a hotspot, South Wales, because of that, because of what the Cymru money. So Scotland's getting its act together with that. Belgium had a really good fund. Isle of Man randomly had this like-for-like fund for a while. They would match pound for pound whatever other money you got. Get some crazy films filming on the Isle of Man. That's gone now. So we have to we compete with all this. So we have to be savvy with what's happening out there. So yeah, we do that. We're also getting bigger into screen tourism as well, which is basically, when like stuff gets shot and made and goes out on TV and cinema screens, there's a group of people who are fascinated enough by where things were shot that they will go and visit and incorporate it into a holiday and make a choice on where they actually go on holiday because of where stuff was filmed. You still get it now. I mean, God, like, if anyone's ever been up to Goathland on the North York Moors, that's a heartbeat country, they call it. And the series Heartbeat from years ago, it's not been on the telly, on terrestrial telly, it's always repeated on Gold and whatever. It's not been on telly for absolutely ages, but they're still getting visitors up there. They still have coachloads of grannies on the Heartbeat tour, So what we notice and identify is that if you're Screen Yorkshire and like we want to kind of justify our existence by saying, look at this economic activity we've promoted in the region, then people coming on holiday to see this stuff is another facet of that. If we bring the show in, they shoot it, they spend the money, that's ace. If they then have a legacy, a huge tail, as we call it, of tourists coming to see where it was shot, and they're spending money, that's also extra value. So it is also good for us. So we've set up the Filmed in Yorkshire website. We're looking at doing film trails and different things like that. This initiative launched to encourage tourists to visit Yorkshire film and TV locations. That was it. Coming off the back of things like Gentleman Jack. Anyone seen Gentleman Jack on BBC One? So when Series 1 was out, it's the story of Anne Lister, and she lived at Shibden Hall, just up the road in Halifax. And it was out sort of Tuesday evening on BBC One. That first Saturday, Shibden Hall, tourist visitors were queuing around the block to get in. They weren't ready, to be honest. They weren't expecting it. Their visitor numbers went through the roof because of Gentleman Jack. They've now embraced that with more Gentleman Jack-related merch and, more stuff around Shibden Hall. But their visitor numbers have shot up. But the interesting thing is they haven't gone down. They've now gone back to pre-Gentleman Jack levels. They're staying really high because of the power of the show to bring people in. So that's worth a lot. It's almost impossible to quantify. But we know that it's valuable to us because it's valuable to the region. So yeah, screen tourism. And then we do a ton of training and development work as well now. We know that when these projects are looking to base in a particular area, availability of talented local crew is a key decision-making factor for them. We did sadly lose a bit of filming for, does anyone know that the Full Monty? Yeah? Disney Plus doing the Full Monty series, okay? Where's the natural home for the Full Monty series? Sheffield, yeah. Where did it end up basing? Manchester. Why have you gone to Manchester, pray tell? Because we didn't think we'd get enough of the local crew around Sheffield. They were wrong. Actually, when I dug down, I found out really the truth. The main truth was that the main person in charge of that decision lived in Manchester and just wanted to go home every night to his family. Very hard to report that, isn't it? So yeah, but they still did a lot of exteriors in Sheffield, but still. But these are factors. I think there's a bit of a misconception that, hey, The Witcher's here. Oh, where are all the crew from? LA, London? No. Some, yes. But they want to hire locally, because even the Netflixes of the world, which do have pretty deep pockets, if you've got people coming in, you've got to put them in a hotel, pay them a bit of a meal allowance, 200 crew, hotel, meal allowance, £100 a night, what's that, 20 grand? 20 grand a day, just not even going on the screen, because you're not hiring local crew. And also local crew, Yorkshire's got a reputation for having some of the best crew in the UK. And so, they want to hire locally. So we know this. So the stream of getting people such as yourselves from education and onto these projects is we want to work in that space which we're doing a lot more now. So we run these different specific craft courses that we run. I don't know them all. There's more about more of the vocational type of things like costume, makeup, lighting. We do. I think we do a production assistant one. So they're specific courses we run. We also run a diversity scheme called Beyond Brontes, which is funded by the Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin. It's a big win for Screen Yorkshire because she's a former Coronation Street actress. So suddenly film becomes very front and central of the Mayor's activity, which was great for us. So that's the course that's been doing quite well. We've got Flex as well, which is a new course that we run. It's a more advanced, really. The idea is it is national, but we do have quite a lot of Yorkshire people on it. And the idea is to get talented up-and-coming producers, talented up-and-coming directors, and talented up-and-coming writers, and get them all in a melting pot and get them into teams and get them coming up with content ideas. The whole idea behind it, though, is what we call agile content. So that's the whole business of Flex. It's trying to respond to the changing state of how media is produced and consumed, and looking at, if you've got the intellectual property of, say, a film, is how else do you monetize that content? So everything from like all the online stuff, maybe a game based on the film, the merchandise of that, like the Lego set of the film. That's like agile storytelling. That's like the IP of that project is going into all different ways and being licensed and monetized in different ways. So Flex is all about that and trying to do it. It's more advanced than probably where you guys are, but it's doing really well. What I love about it is all the Flex people make them available to come and talk to you guys, which is great. And then we're just finishing a new one called ScriptEd, which is developing new script editors. It's also got a diversity element as well. Script editors kind of helping develop stories as well. So this is very much what we're doing now, and this is only really of the last few years, is starting to get us back to the big screen agency days of 2002. And it's trying to do this kind of integrated thing where, film office sit there taking incoming queries and inquiries about projects. So literally the first phone that rings when Netflix are wanting to do a new show and interest in Yorkshire is the one on our desk. So that gives us this incredibly privileged and good position to help with the talent development and getting people onto projects, basically. And then the reason I'm here really is the big one that I'm involved with, which is Connected Campus. I'm just going to finish with talking a bit about Connected Campus. So Connected Campus we set up a few years ago, and basically the idea was, if you look at that and look at what we do, all the stuff I've said, right? What have we got at Screen Yorkshire in our office on the calls? A massive ton of knowledge. We know loads about what's happening, projects that are coming in, infrastructure developments. We help get Channel 4 into Leeds. Loads of stuff. We're constantly talking to broadcasters, BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Sky and all that. So we've got a ton of information. And you're at university, if you want to crack into this biz, what are you short of and what do you want? Information. So what we do, share it. Knowledge share. It's basically what it is. It's like, it'd be almost mad not to share it with you guys, what's happening out there in the world, where the opportunities might be, how to align yourself to those opportunities. That's basically what it's about, helping you, giving you access to our resources. So we do get inquiries to our film office. We've got the 1,500 locations, so we can help with things. We can help you with a contact. What you want to do Vox Pops in Leeds down Kirkgate, who do you speak to in the council? Just call us, we'll help you. We'll tell you who to speak to and do you a little email intro. What students sometimes think we can be is the location scouts for their project. We can't do that, we haven't got the resources. We can offer you pointers, but we can't can you book it for us kind of thing and get us it for free and all that. We can't do that, but we can give you access to our resources. We're only a finite size team, so if you do get in touch when we're dealing with The Witcher or something like that, we're probably going to prioritise them. Sadly, that's just how it is, but we will get round to helping you if we can. But also we've got other resources as well now. We've got because we're doing more in the way of training, we've got loads more staff now. So we've just got a staff member, our new head of skills has just come from a whole our whole background is in film financing, so we're now doing more stuff on the business of film because we've got the expertise to share with you. So we've got other people there we can also potentially give you access to. Doing a lot more collaborative stuff now, trying to get talented students working together. So we've got our Facebook page, which I'll talk about. More of this is happening. We've just had a filmmaker doing a casting call on our site, looking for acting students from acting courses at other institutions to cast and get together. So over the summer in July, we had some York College acting students out performing at York Museum, and that particular project was filmed by some students from York St John University. We had to involve them because we could access their amazing kit. But it worked really, really well, combined stuff. So we're trying to do more of that. Students studying fashion, design, textiles at certain colleges and universities are desperate to work on short films. And then you've got filmmakers making short films who don't have access to costume, who just have their mates starring in it, dressed in their regular gear, and not really realising how costume can really help tell a story. So why not hook them together? So we're doing more of that kind of thing now, trying to get like people hooked up. So sometimes between institutions. We've got communal events, different things going on as well. So this Christmas last year we did the Connected Campus Christmas Chat, which was an online thing that was open to everybody from all universities and colleges. That was on the subject of the film Everybody's Talking About Jamie. This year, hopefully, touch wood, we're doing, we've got the filmmakers of a new documentary called A Bunch of Amateurs, which I highly recommend you see. It's out shortly. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. It's about a Bradford amateur movie makers group. It's hilarious. It won the Audience Award at Sheffield Docfest. And so we're hopefully going to give you the opportunity to watch that film, and then at Christmas we're going to have a free to join online chat where you can put your questions to the filmmakers, and hopefully they reckon they're going to get a couple of the cast on as well, which will make it extra hilarious, hopefully. So we're doing other communal events like that as well. We're often, we're looking at more doing like getting in other speakers, doing more things that might be online, different things. We're setting mini challenges as well this year as well. So we had one for October, a little mini filmmaking challenge. The challenge was October, Halloween. I just put it on the Facebook group. If you fancy having a go at making something with your mates, just shoot something on your phone that's scary. Scare me, okay? So send something in. So we had a few entries, and then we put it to the vote. So people made some stuff, got instant peer review from students all across Yorkshire. And Kat, who is at Leeds Trinity, she won. So she's got the world's smallest trophy is heading her way at the moment, plus the kudos of winning. So we're going to do another one for Christmas, the Spirit of Christmas, which I'll launch this week. So if anyone likes doing film, if you can think of anything, it could be a little factual, little mini thing, anything you like, shoot on your phone with your mates, maybe one weekend, hour, whatever. It doesn't have to be huge, 5-second, one shot, half a scene, little mini tale, up to a couple of minutes, send it in, and then people will review it, and we can give you some notes on it. Just helping to try and get people making more stuff, So we're going to do that every other month or so. We're also doing, which I'm just setting up at the moment, if you're into film and TV and whatever, if you want to just have a direct one-to-one chat with either me or a member of the team, we're setting up some bookable one-to-one sessions so you can just get on. That could be anything from you've got a project that you really want to get off the ground, you're looking for advice, we could potentially help. If not me, then if I see the nature of your query, and I think anyone else at Screen Yorkshire might be more useful to talk to you, we'll tee you up with them. If we feel that your query is beyond what we might be able to help you with, we will signpost you to other places where you might get answers and assistance as well. So we'll be setting those up shortly. And so, the whole thing is to signpost opportunities as well, anything that comes up. So Film 4 were here, as Lisa mentioned in her talk. Film 4 were here a couple of weeks ago, doing an outreach event in Leeds. Did anyone go to that? No? Okay. Yeah, that was advertised on our Facebook group for people to apply and go. So we've got some students there. The head of development at Film 4 up, and plus their head of legals, various various of their other team taking questions from students. It was an awesome session. People just asking, how do I get noticed by Film 4? How do I get a conversation with you? They were answering quite candidly, and some conversations started at that point. But loads of other stuff we do as well. Any other opportunities that come up, different things that happen. Sometimes there are other partner universities that are happening. So we had the head of Left Bank Pictures, one of the biggest, most well-known production companies in the UK. The head of that, Andy Harries, is a former Hull student. So he agreed to go and do a talk at Hull. So they said, I'll put it out on the network because maybe people want to go and hear from him. So any other opportunities like that, we're signposting as well. And we'll signpost them to help, to see if something you might want to get involved in, basically. And we'll also do some CV, cover emails, and networking help, which I've also already delivered here in sessions, but we can also do a bit of one-to-one stuff as well if needed. So yeah, that's what we're up. That's the sort of thing that we're doing, basically. Loads and loads of industry talks, workshops, all sorts of different things with industry professionals as well. The idea is just to support what the university is already doing, to just use our knowledge and our info to just help you all get as industry savvy as possible. It's constantly all over the place, people talking about a disconnect between education and industry and working together to try and kind of join that all up as much as we can. So if you want to join us, or the biz in general, it's very simple. If you've got social media, just follow us on social media, Screen Yorkshire, but while you're at it, go through all this lot as well. If you want to crack film and television industry, British Film Institute, Screen Skills, Creative England, BAFTA, Film London are pretty good. Then there's the Channel 4 Skills, BBC Academy, ITV Careers. You start doing that online if you want to get into this industry, pretty soon the algorithms will kick in and you're like, instead of your feed being like just cat pics and people sending you adverts for products you don't want to buy, start to get a bit more industry pro, with all that. And you can sign up to the newsletters as well of any of these organisations. And even if you're not into film and TV, this advice is universal, really. Just find any kind of, if there's any guild or any kind of thing like that, then just follow them on social media and you'll start to get news. We've also got, you're welcome, even if you're not a film and media student, to sign up to our Facebook group, Connected Campus Opportunities. You can have a look at that. If you do sign up for it, then there are some membership questions. Please answer them, because we get people trying to join from other institutions and other parts of the country, indeed other parts of the world, and they're trying to tap into all of our knowledge, but we want to save it just for you guys who are members of a Connected Campus partner institution. And then, I've been asked, why have we got Instagram or Twitter or something like that? We've thought about it, but we don't massively have the resources to run Connected Campus on every platform. And also, the main reason we're on Facebook, which I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, is that most of the opportunities that we do share into that group are advertised on Facebook. Facebook is a forum for jobs and different interest groups and everything. That all stuff is on there. So that's why we put it. We're only on Facebook at the moment. My battery's running low. I'm not plugged in.
Should we take some questions?
So sorry, are we out of time? Yeah, are we running out of time?
Yeah.
So join other local groups and then join events. Sorry, I'm not used to doing half an hour. Anyway, questions. Sorry?
So we have the lights on. Question?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, a question nearby. I like that already.
Hi, I wanted to ask about streaming services and how that's affected Screen Yorkshire over the last decade. Has it created more opportunities or has it hindered you in any way?
More opportunities, massively, yeah. The streaming services in multiple ways have been good, but not all good. Firstly is the volume of production. So Netflix are here. So we had The Witcher, as I said, Witcher, Bridgerton, we have all these different things. Enola Holmes 2 was here. The Crown, all these different shows. So it's providing opportunities, yes, which is good. Almost better than that is that their business model is global. So anything dropping on Netflix, as soon as it's shot in Yorkshire, when they're ready for it, it drops globally. Okay, so that as a shop window showcasing Yorkshire is massive. if you think back to 20 years ago, the shows that were being made in Yorkshire, like Heartbeat, were huge in the UK, but they didn't have a global audience. They would sell in a few territories, but not much. So the effect of that is that local crew now have got The Witcher and Bodies and The Crown and all that. That's on their CV. So when the next big show comes, you look at this crew member who lives in Bradford or Leeds, and their CV is like a Hollywood CV. And that gives the next production confidence that they can bring their project here because they look at the local crew and go, amazing. Whereas in the old days, they look at the CV and go, don't know any of these shows. Like, they're massive in the UK, but it's like I'm in LA, I've never seen any of it, you know. So that's had a major impact. The negative side of things, certainly if you're a local producer trying to put a crew together, is that the shortage of crew at the moment has set rates through the roof. So crew rates at the moment have gone like exponentially high. You've got senior crew now just almost naming their price because there's such a shortage, he says, while still standing here. 12 calls in January, I had 12 calls to go on location manage. They've put prices up, which is fine if you're crew. Everyone's like, woohoo, amazing. But if you're a producer trying to build a team, you go, I need a gaffer, a Yorkshire gaffer. What have I got? You know, I've got 1,200 quid a week in my budget because it's a low budget British movie, BFI funded, whatever. And the gaffer goes, yeah, I was on $2,500 on Netflix last week, so you got to match that. And they can't. So, yeah, that makes it hard to put stuff together. But yeah, but overall good, yeah, amazingly good.
Any more? Oh, nice.
Yeah, you're going to be able to reach. Bless him. Hi, Iris. I'm interested in this sort of, I think we've talked about it before, about volume walls and virtual production and the risk that has for Yorkshire being a location place.
Yeah.
Can you sort of tell us a bit about how you might guard against that or explain?
Yeah, don't let them in. Yeah, so we're on a longer version of this talk, when I do more of an intro session, is do talk more about virtual production is coming down the line fast, which is filming. It's like the old style back projection that they used to do in the 1960s. Watch a 1960s James Bond film and see when they get in a car, they're sat in a studio with it behind them and it looks terrible. But now the tech is getting really cool. So we've now got virtual production studios. If anyone's seen The Mandalorian, it's one of the first things to be shot on it. So it's, instead of green screen, it's an LED, ultra high def LED screen that they shoot. So what we're now getting is people asking us, could you introduce us to Castle Howard and Howard House? Why? Because we want to talk to them about going into every single one of their rooms and getting an ultra high definition scan, 3D scan of the entire space. And then they also want to completely empty each room of furniture and scan it again. And then the idea then is that when you're making the next Bridgerton, say, and you want to film Castle Howard, but really you'd rather access Belgian money or stay in the US or go to Canada, what you can do is get a virtual production suite and a studio and sit the actors in and have the entirety of Castle Howard, every interior behind them on a screen. And if the director wants to move a piece of furniture, you can pull it out because you've scanned the empty room, so you know what's behind it. So that's a potential. I see that as a potential threat because we want to bring the projects here, and they will spend a lot of money and hire a lot of local crew. We don't want them taking the images of here and taking them elsewhere, really, I don't think. Because all they do then is they just send a skeleton crew of like half a dozen people to shoot the exteriors, and everything else will be gone. Well, Castle Howard will still get money because they'd pay them a huge license fee for the images of all of the interior spaces. So it is a bit of a risk. I think it's some distance away, but it's definitely one to watch, yeah. So how do you combat that? Try to work and get virtual production studio spaces here. And then also get you guys trained up on how to use virtual production because it's creating a lot of jobs as well. So that's the way to sort of combat it.
We have time for one more, if anyone has a question.
I wanted to ask about script writing. What are you looking for in good script writing?
Okay, at Screen Yorkshire, in terms of scripts, they very rarely come to us cold with no money attached. Because people know about our fund and we only invest 10%, if you come to us with just a plain script and I'm fundraising for it, we were less likely to read it. So usually scripts come to us quite well developed. And then we're looking, sadly with us, because we're managing an investment fund, we're looking for sales and whether it's going to be, what audience it's going to have. We've turned down one of my favourite scripts, best scripts I've ever read, we didn't invest in because the numbers weren't right. And also, I think Flux was one possible, but keep that to yourselves. But we didn't, because it was all about numbers, yeah. But in terms of me personally script, yeah, it's basically, I think new writers spend too long setting the scene, and there's 5 pages of just guff before anything happens. So you've got to kind of get rid of that, try to start with an issue. I think a lot of people start writing scripts before they're really ready. So I know from personal painful experience, now when I'm writing, I love writing, treatment the crap out of everything first before you actually hit it and work out what's happening. Get a book called Your Screenplay Sucks, 100 Ways to Make It Great by a guy called William Ackers. That's the best screenwriting book ever. It's 100 short chapters. That was the thing that improved my own writing from there to sort of marginally higher than there, was that book. So yeah, it's all about, it's boring, but it's just like looking at loads of stuff online. There's a whole like writing, don't get me wrong, I love talking about writing. There's loads of stuff online as well, Facebook, YouTube vids and all that kind of thing, which sort of tell you a bit more about the sort of structure of it and that kind of thing. The other big thing I see in student writing is they don't use the visuals. So they go dialogue first, action second. So this character walks into a space and they're sad. How are you? Oh, one character says, how are you? Oh, pretty sad actually. Oh, what's happened? And they tell it and they don't show it. So whereas you could say a character said, you can walk them into a room and they just like take off the coat, slam it down, and then sit down, and you've just said they're mad without actually, you've done it in that much space rather than that much space. So it's just about being efficient and thinking visually more than anything. But it's really hard to teach. I'd love to teach it. Oh. Anyway, and keep trying. Practice the crap out of it.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause?